There are buildings that feel old, and then there are buildings that feel aware. Not alive in the way we mean biologically, but aware in the way a place becomes when it has held enough breath, enough grief, enough secrets, and enough strangers passing through its doors. Atlanta, Indiana is not a large town. It never needed to be. Its history is concentrated, compressed into a short window of growth and decline. And standing at the center of that window is a structure that has never quite let go of its past, the Rhodes Hotel. Before I ever step inside overnight, before equipment is unpacked or questions are asked, I want to understand what this building has already carried. This episode is about history. It's about loss. It's about rumor, and why rumors sometimes survive longer than fact. And it's about the experiences that continue to be reported here, whether we're ready to explain them or not. This is Ghost Tracks Podcast. Welcome back to Ghost Tracks Podcast. I'm your host, Tina. If you're new here, this podcast exists at the intersection of paranormal investigation and historical grounding. I don't believe that you can understand a haunting without first understanding the structure, the people, and the environment that helped shape it. Tonight's episode is a deep historical dive into the Rhodes Hotel in Atlanta, Indiana. This episode will be released before my overnight investigation. So what you're hearing now is not evidence or results, it's context. And context matters. Atlanta, Indiana came into itself quickly. In the late 1800s, the town experienced rapid expansion fueled by two forces that reshaped much of Indiana during that period: the railroad and natural gas. The railroad made Atlanta accessible. It turned the town into a waypoint rather than a destination. People arrived, they stayed briefly, and then they moved on. That rhythm shaped everything from commerce to architecture. And then came natural gas. By the late 1880s, natural gas wells were producing heavily in the area. Industry followed. Factories opened, workers flooded in. Atlanta grew faster than its infrastructure could reasonably sustain. And like many boom towns, Atlanta burned bright and brief. Natural gas was used aggressively, often wasted through open flambeaux, and by the early 1900s, the supply was largely depleted. Industry declined, growth stalled, and the town was left with the physical remains of prosperity, but not the momentum to maintain it. Buildings outlasted the boom. Some of them adapted, some of them were emptied, and some of them developed reputations. The Rhodes Hotel was constructed in 1893 during the height of Atlanta's growth. Architecturally, it's a Queen Anne style building, beautiful, 2 stories tall with a central stair hall flanked by guest rooms. It was built to impress, to welcome, and to function efficiently. The 2-story front porch is not decorative excess. It's intentional. It signals hospitality, and it says this is a place meant to be entered and stayed in. The layout matters. The central stairway created a natural funnel of sound. Footsteps, voices, doors opening or closing would carry through the building. Upstairs hallways run long and narrow, amplifying movement and sound. When later reports describe footsteps, voices, and movement, the architecture must be taken into consideration for that conversation. This is not a quiet home, it was a public space, and public spaces absorb more than we like to admit. The hotel was built for Newton and Clara Rhodes. At the time, hotels were not just businesses. They were extensions of the family running them. Newton and Clara lived inside the home while operating it, blurring the lines between private life and public service. Travelers came and went, meals were served, rooms were cleaned, conversations overlapped, strangers shared walls. The hotel became part of the town's identity. Historical sources described it as one of the leading hotels in the area. But life inside the hotel was not untouched by hardship. The Rhodes family experienced significant loss within the building that they called home. There have been 3 confirmed deaths that occurred inside the Rhodes Hotel in its history. Newton Rhodes died in this home. Clara Rhodes also passed away here. And then their son, Everett Rhodes, who died in the upstairs bedroom. Everett's story is especially significant because he suffered from tuberculosis, a disease that was deeply feared in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Tuberculosis carried not just physical danger, but social isolation as well. Those afflicted were often quarantined and separated from family. So you can imagine being quarantined, separated from anyone that you ever loved, especially that of a child, a young child, what that could do to your psyche and to you emotionally, not having those connections anymore. I know that even adults struggle with that, being isolated and alone, not having people that they can turn to and talk to, somebody to love them and carry them forward. Before a young child is going to be devastating. So Everett was isolated in an upstairs room, and that room was identified as room 5. The room became both sick room and deathbed. Historical accounts indicate that Everett died there and that his parents' funerals were also held inside the hotel many years later. This means that this building was not just a place where death occurred, it was also a place where death was processed. Mourning happened here, grief lingered there, and life continued around it. Say hi, Maggie. This is Maggie. My pretty girl. Can you say hi? Oh, and a rub too. You guys got head booped. By the early 1920s, the Rhodes Hotel ceased operating as a traditional hotel. What came next is where the history becomes less certain and more carefully worded. According to current caretakers and local oral history, it is alleged that during the Prohibition era, the building functioned as a speakeasy and possibly a brothel, because everybody's after that dollar. PBS's Journey Indiana presents this as rumor, noting stories of gambling in a parlor room and describing the era as rough. I mean, that could be described as today's era as well. It's just rough out here in these streets. There is no surviving documentation confirming these uses, no arrest records, no licensing disputes, no newspaper exposés, and because of that, these claims remain legend. But legend doesn't exist in a vacuum. Rumors often form around places where activity felt hidden, where community trust eroded, and where social norms were quietly violated. Whether or not the Rhodes Hotel functioned in these ways, that perception matters when we talk about the haunt. Now we come to the experiences that continue to draw people to the Rhodes Hotel. The most consistently documented accounts from interviews and segments featured on PBS Journey Indiana. And these are not anonymous internet posts. These are on-camera statements tied to identifiable individuals and identifiable results, as well as footage and video evidence, recorded evidence. So, reported experiences include footsteps heard moving through hallways when no one is present, muffled voices often described as indistinct or distant, shadow figures seen briefly and disappearing when directly observed, full body apparitions, particularly upstairs, with at least one report involving multiple witnesses who left the building immediately after. They said, "We're going to chuck deuces and get the fuck out." There are physical sensations in room 5, and that includes chest heaviness and coughing, often reported after learning of Everett's illness. So that's concerning. Obviously, going in there having already researched the hotel and knowing its history, I think it's hard to go in with a non-bias, knowing that something happened upstairs in a room. And I'm going to assume, I haven't been to the grounds yet, but I'm going to assume the rooms are numbered, or labeled in some way. So if you know the history of the building and you know that Everett passed away, um, from TB, then I think a lot of people just automatically become maybe overwhelmed in those spaces, and then all of a sudden they're having that chest heaviness and that tightness and shortness of breath. So while obviously I'm a ghost girly and I'm here for hauntings, right? I want to have those experiences. I want to have, notable accounts. I want to produce so much evidence for all of you guys, all four of you. Maybe we're up to 5 now, I don't know. But I think it is hard to take seriously some of those accounts without having, been there yourself and seen it and felt it. So, just again, because people create these instances in their mind sometimes, whether it's intentional or not. I think a lot of the time, you're in the moment, and anxiety runs high sometimes when you're in homes that or spaces that are haunted, or are presumed to be haunted, and sometimes your brain kind of fills in those gaps. So, I am definitely pro ghost and pro haunting, but it is hard to say whether or not these experiences are legitimate or not sometimes. Um, I know that when I went to the Hannah house, um, I know that there was multiple deaths in that home. I and I don't remember off the top of my head, but I believe that there may have been TB or a consumption death or something like that there. And I, again, researched the home. I had been up and down the stairs multiple times during that investigation. I've been to Hannah House multiple times just on top of the overnight investigation, and I never felt any heaviness or tightness in my chest or like, oh my God, I can't catch my breath. Um, but I was live on TikTok during that investigation, and all of a sudden, I had ascended the stairs again, and it just came out of nowhere, and I had noted it, and I have the recording of um that live. I saved the recordings from the lives that I do. And I mentioned I am so short of breath right now and I don't understand why. I've been up and down the stairs all night. I've been totally fine, and then I got up there next to the first room on the left-hand side, which somebody had passed away in that room, and it just, I don't know, overcame me out of nowhere. So, I'm not discounting everyone's claims. I'm simply saying, and I was pretty distracted because I was doing the live. So that night it was hard for me to really like be in the role of paranormal investigator because I was talking to the people that were in the live, and I was mostly just observing that night, not playing active role in it. But yeah, it was crazy just the way it came on. So, not saying that it doesn't happen. I know it certainly does. I think the accounts don't happen as often as we'd like to believe, but I do think that there's still, some truth to a lot of these claims of that specifically. So we'll see what happens in room 5 at the Rhodes Hotel. There are reports of being touched in rooms associated with brothel era legends. Hey, we've got some frisky ghosts. Jeremy, are you ready for some hot ghosts? I actually don't know if Jeremy is going with us. Gasp. That makes me sad. I don't even have like a full like list of who's going. I know there's going to be about 7 of us there. Um, the most important thing is that we're going, and that's what I'm going to stay leading with. But Jeremy, if we get hot go, so we'll get some digits for you. We're having a grooming session now on the Shanko. Okay. Anybody else have an needy cat, or is this just me? She's sad because I was at the gym today, hence my semi-disheveled appearance right now. Kind of glossy. It's not glossy. It's not shine. It's um. I have been touched by a specter. I have had that happen a couple of times in my ghost hunting career, and probably even before that, truthfully. It's only been a few times, though. I mostly hear them rather than feel them, like physically feel them. Obviously, everybody gets like the hair on the back of their neck standing up, the tingles, your spidey senses start going off that there's something there that maybe you can't see. So I definitely have that. But I have had my hair tugged. I have had my shoulder touched. I have had like a almost like a nail, not, it wasn't painful, but it was like they were pushing on me, like 1 or 2 fingers, and it was on my back of my arm on the left-hand side. It was really crazy, and I was just sitting there, and I think I was at work. I wasn't even in, like, Indiana State Sanatorium or something. I wasn't on an investigation. I was just doing my job and minding my business. So, and they felt like I needed to know that there was somebody there with me. And whoever that was, hey. There has also, back to the Rhodes Hotel. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. My cat is sidetracking me, and then I got stories to tell, guys. Reported sighting by law enforcement officer who claimed to see a woman in an upstairs window, and then he just kind of avoided that area afterwards. So I love when we have like the law coming in and witnessing or having an occurrence, because that's like the demon house up in Gary, Indiana, which thanks Zach Baggins for demolishing that for us. Wonder where all those demons are now. But like, how many times CPS, the police, doctors and nurses, like people, professional people in, you know, respectable, and I'm gonna keep doing this because I think any job really should be a respectable job, but in a job that is known to be like a very serious job. CPS should be like the most serious job. Children's lives are at stake, their health and their well-being. Police, obviously, the same thing, not just children, but people in general. Their lives are at stake. You're here to serve, you know, protect and serve doctors, nurses. You're trying to heal these patients, and give them the best possible care, listening to people. And really, I think the biggest thing is that you have in those positions, you have to look at things from a very logical standpoint, or you should look at things from a very logical standpoint instead of an emotional one. And for people in those positions that are supposed to have their logical hats on, for them to have these otherworldly experiences and report on them, I think that's a pretty damn big deal. In the Demon House, I haven't covered that one yet. It's on my list, but that one had so much coverage from people in those positions that I don't know how anyone could say that that particular case was anything but accurate and truthful. So I love when a report comes in of, like I said, a police officer, EMT, firefighter, doctor, nurse, CPS, anything like that. I love when we have an added report from one of those people in those positions. that excites me, that lights me up inside. Because then I'm like, yeah, there is definitely something happening at this place because somebody that's supposed to be logical said so. So we love that. But while all of these claims, and what I was going to get into also, like I said in the beginning, the way that the layout of the hotel was done might create a lot of echoes and noise traveling throughout the home. So the footsteps and the muffled voices and maybe doors opening and closing and creaking and regular house noises. We're going to be very diligent when we're there to ensure that everyone is kind of in the same space. We're not going to buddy system like we did at ISS and just go our separate ways. This place isn't that big. So keeping us together. Hi, pretty girl. You're giving me the eyes. You're so cute. So keeping us together so that we can ensure that minimal noise pollution is happening is going to be a very important task for us while we're at the Rhodes Hotel. And then going forward, I know there's a few other locations that we would really like to get to this year that are also on the smaller, like traditional home size. So we want to be very careful that the noises that we're hearing are not our noises, but the non-living residents of those homes and spaces. So we are taking that into account when we go there this weekend. I'm so excited. Okay. So while none of the reports or claims, those aren't proof per se, but they are consistent and highly consistent. So that's something. Consistency is where serious investigations begin. So I'm excited for consistent reports. And honestly, outside of, I mean, I know there's a lot of maybe TikToks that have been done on the Rhodes Hotel. I haven't really found a ton of other information out there other than, the few things that I found to do this episode with. But I don't know that there's a lot of other like podcasts that have covered this, at least not to date. So that goes to say something about that too, as far as, there's not like a shit ton of information out there like there is with like Indiana State Sanatorium or Waverly Hills Sanatorium, where, thousands upon thousands of people have come through those walls, halls, doors, whatever. And all report the same thing, and it could just be one of those they wanna experience it too, so they're saying that they have, or maybe they think they have because, again, our minds fill in gaps and things like that. So, yeah, consistent, not a ton of reports, but consistently being reported on, I think that's a big deal. So, while I'm there this weekend conducting this overnight investigation that I'm so excited about, I'm not gonna be alone. I'm not going by myself, and I'm not just talking to I'm not just gonna be hanging out with the ghosts. I'll have real people friends there too. I'll be investigating alongside my friends and fellow paranormal investigative team, IPSI. That's right, IPSI. You've heard their names here before, folks, and we're back at it again. It's been too many months for all involved. IPSI members Carol, Curtis, and Thomas, they did go on an open investigation to the Rhodes Hotel several years ago, I think. And I was really hoping that it was like an overnight that they did long before they knew me and that they had like the in and already knew kind of what we were getting into and what experiences would be possible to have and maybe had some evidence. I reached out to them prior to writing my episode. But guys, they just did the open house investigation. And I think it was during the daytime too. It wasn't like an overnight or an evening one, I don't believe. And they really didn't have anything for me from that. They said that they spent a very long time when they were there just discussing the history and hauntings and experiences of the owner, Mike Couch. So they were, I think they've been wanting to get back to the Rhodes Hotel to do their overnight investigation for quite some time, and I'm just so lucky to know them. and be involved in as many investigations as I can be involved in with them. That's super special to me. So I'm very thankful to them. Holler at you, Doug, for reaching out to me last year. It's been a year almost since you reached out, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I'm just so thankful that you guys emailed me and that I've gotten to make friends with you and have these relationships with you guys. So um I really appreciate you guys, and I just wanted you to know that. So um while they weren't there a long time, and I don't believe Doug's been there yet. So we're going to be newbies together this time. But they have wanted to get back there for quite some time. And this weekend just it can't come fast enough. Like I'm so ready to be there. Again, they did talk to one of the current owners, Mike Couch, for some time during their visit at the open investigation. And they got lots of the historical information about the hotel, what rooms have activity or have had activity in the past. So we have a plan in place, and ghost hunting, we will go. Make sure you follow along because I'm sure you're going to be hearing from them again right here on Ghost Track. What I was going to say a minute ago, I had my 1 year anniversary, my 1 year podiversary, if you will. January 8th, I did not put out an episode. I've been getting into the swing of things at work and trying to work out and get my feet on the ground for 2026 and trying to be a healthier version of myself. And so the podcast had a week off because of those things. um but I have so much that I'm looking forward to in 2026. I hope to ghost hunt the hell out of this year. I have many locations that I would love to get to, and I hope is joining along, and I have some other podcast friends that I would love to team up with as well. And you'll be hearing from some of them soon, right here. And then hopefully you'll hear from me on their episodes. And I'll be shouting them out when that occurs. Um, but yeah, 1 year, guys. Holy shit. And I'll be better this year about being consistent in getting episodes out. It's kind of hard when you're mm, not a single parent, but kind of running a household like a single parent. My husband travels for work. So it's usually just little old me here with the kids and the animals, the needy animals, and work and just life. Life be life. And so 2026, I'm going to do my very best to be consistent and get episodes out once a week and bring you along on all the adventures that I am bound to have. Whether maybe even if they're not ghost hunting adventures. How about that? Maybe I'll just take you guys along with me, like, to everything. I think that would be cool. So, ooh, thought, would you guys hmm, I couldn't do TikTok live and stuff on, like, to ISS and Billy Creek, so we really didn't have service over there, but I bet you I'll have service at the Rhodes Hotel. So, maybe you'll see me on TikTok live, for that. I'll make an announcement if I plan on going live. So, again, check that out on TikTok. Ghost Tracks podcast. I have Ghost Tracks podcast on everywhere, and I'll get to that in a second. Okay, all right. We're gonna do our little closing here while Maggie just purrs a minute. The Rhodes Hotel is not a mystery because it's old. It's a mystery because it has been many things. It's been a hotel. It's been a home, a sick room, a place of mourning, possibly a place of secrecy. Hey, hey, hey. Looking at you, maybe brothel and speakeasy. Uh, but now it's a place where people continue to report experiences that they cannot easily explain. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've had your own experiences at the Rhodes Hotel or any other spooky location, I would love to know about it. And that's a goal for 2026, a challenge, if you will. But we all love challenges, right? TikTok challenges. This is a podcast challenge. I challenge you to email me at ghosttrackspodcast@gmail.com and tell me about your stinking scary stories. Tell me about your hauntings. Tell me about you thought it was haunting, but it was like somebody farting in the next room. Tell me about if you've gone out to a graveyard. Tell me if you've gone to a crybaby bridge. Tell me if you've been to Waverly Hills, Ballista Axe House, Crescent Hotel, literally anything. If your grandma, stopped by in the middle of the night in her ghostly form and watched you sleep and you woke up, uh, I want to know about it. ghosttrackspodcast@gmail.com. Email me. That's your challenge. Do it. You can find Ghost Tracks on all social media platforms. And don't forget, we have merch. We have merch now. If you want to add a little creepy to your wardrobe, then you can find the shop at ghosttrackspodcast.printify.me. Printify is PRINTIFY.me. M-E. Or to make it easy, you can click the link in the show notes because it's going to be there in show notes for every episode that I release. I hope you're having a fantastic and creepy start to 2026, and I hope you stay creepy. Bye.